Okay, to break this one down and to critique this a little bit, I printed it out. So it's on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and then I put some tracing paper over this so that I can kind of mark and talk about it. And just, I want to point out some just subtle differences that you can become aware of, and you might decide to modify, or if you want to do another version.
Only one
Asher,
lesson, Molly.
I'm talking.
Only one.
I'm talking.
Only one lesson.
My grandson is here. I'm having to babysit, so this is going to continue to be interesting. All right. I really like the movement and the energy in this piece. And let me pull this up so you can see it. I'm sure the colors are not quite as vivid because of being printed out on a printer. All right. But let me talk about what I want to point out. In this one, there's a gradation from here to here, and you will notice that it's lighter greens down here. And as we move up, we get to where when you're doing up here, it's dark greens. And this is almost solid, either red or green across the top. You see that? That subtle difference? Right up there. See how dark that whole area is overall compared to down here where it's lighter.
Donut, Mom.
Asher, quiet. He's kindergarten and he's actually reading. I've got a video on. Everything's in here. This is my painting room and my monitor where the big TV is. And this is, so I've got him tuned in to one of his shows, but I've got the sound off and we do subtitles. So in kindergarten, he's just now beginning to learn to read. He's actually picking out some words. Told him to hurry up and learn how to read so he can read the subtitles. Okay. So that would be the main thing that I would suggest to do. And also, therefore, these pieces, these poppies down on this end are overall lighter. And there's a lot of orange showing. It's actually what you're doing up here actually needs to be happening around these guys. All right. And then the overall color of the poppies is a little bit darker, and they're also getting smaller. So sort of kind of like a forced perspective. So we've got these in the foreground that are the bigger ones. And then if you notice that the size of the ones back in the back, and there's just a, when I painted these, I think I painted dark down first. And so I've left more of the dark showing, and they're smaller. Like I said, they're smaller, but I mean, that whole darkness with the dark green, if I could, I would paint on this, but being a print, it would just circle and move. I don't know that it would do that much, but I just go in here, and you could do this with a wash. It doesn't even have to be heavy paint. You just do kind of on your piece, mix up some really dark green and even your lighter greens here. And I'd kind of pull some of that darker. And you could even use that darker green to knock down the size of those poppies a little bit. If you just did that much, then you could come back here, actually with your orange or whatever color, if you have a similar color to what you did in your background, and you come back in here and actually lighten up some of these green areas with that orange and break up these darker areas. You just need to flip what you're doing down here to up here and vice versa. And I just come in here with the same stroke and do some, this one's not hardly working at all. Okay, there we go. I would just lighten up some of those darkest areas with some of your orange. And then if you need to, go back and put in a little bit of, it just may be a stroke or two, to maybe, if this gets too solid or too dark, then you go back with an occasional light stroke, okay? Just an occasional one, all right? But I would say that would be all I would suggest that you do. Now, your flowers, I'm looking at this, and I think probably your first application needed to be darker. It needed to be a real dark rusty red or a deeper red. So when you come back on top of, or was this a watercolor? I'll have to go back and look. I know somebody was going to be redoing this via watercolor. And so I don't remember if it was you, or you can do a mixed media. You can do a mixed media with watercolor and acrylic, or watercolor and gouache. But you got some nice, good lights coming in here. That's why I'm thinking it might be acrylic and or gouache. Baby, don't touch the TV screen. No, sir. Oh, look up, and he's got a paint roller. He's rolling on my big screen TV. No, sweetie, you don't ever want to touch the TV screen. It can be damaged, and then we won't have it at all. Neither of us will have it, okay? So then when you come back with your orange, you've got that darkness underneath it that helps to define those petals. See, that's what's happening here. And then these darker areas for the center, and then I went back, very last thing, and a little bit of touches of, and you know, you can do that with a paintbrush or the back end of the paintbrush or a toothpick that you maybe break off the very tippy tip part, and then just go in there and put some centers in those flowers. It's a nice little touch. I think it helps to break those centers up a little bit. But right now, your overall flowers appear to be a little too monochromatic. They're all too similar, and there's not enough dark and light play. If you're trying to achieve this, all right, I think they look good. I like them. They're happy flowers, you know, and I like the movement in the piece. So anyway, I think that would be where I would make some subtle adjustments. Okay?
Looney, this is the guy who's trying to kill Sonic.
All right.
The guy with the mustache.
Yes. There's a quiet.
Quiet,
Quiet, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Kind of reminds me
All
of
right.
Mike.
Bye.